Hi, I'm Greg Braxton with the Los Angeles Times. We're here today to talk about Sons of Anarchy, a historic series on FX, which revolved around a dangerous, violent biker gang, Sam Crow. The series was historic for FX, the most popular in that channel's history, really put it on the map. And we're here today with one of the stars of that historic series, the man who played Juan Carlos Ortiz, aka Juice, Theo Rossi. How you doing, Theo?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
Did you bike here today, or
I did not.
You did not.
I did not. I took a tricycle. I tried to change it up. Yeah, because I'm right down the block in a hotel. So
tricycle. So
gotta, I don't want to fully lose bikes and all.
And your character always had a very distinctive look of shaved head and tattoos. No tattoos on the head.
You never know. They might be under here.
They might be.
They might be hiding. No tattoos, which people always seem to be very disappointed about. But no, I do not have a tattooed skull.
Do people come and look and sort
they usually just give that look when they see me. They go, oh. And it's like, okay.
A little disappointed.
A little disappointed, yeah.
But it's been several months since Sons went off the air. It really was quite a milestone for FX. Yeah. How has it been since? I mean, it was such an insane ride for you for 7 years.
Yeah.
So what was it like, and what was it like to have it come to a close?
It was pretty. The transition was a little strange for me because I literally went right into a film, and then we went right into my company's first film at Tribeca, and now we're going right into another film in a couple of days. When it hits me is when I'm in Los Angeles, and usually about this time every year we're going back to start a season. So usually about June is when we would start. So in a couple of weeks, if you ask me, it might be a little different, but it hasn't really hit me yet because every year this is usually the time we're off.
When it did come to an end, was it an emotional? Was it really, as you guys have been together for so long, and plus when it's a show about a condensed group like that, how was it emotionally for you?
Well, that show started off as a family and ended as a family. I mean, because we really were this like little show that could, nobody knew who we were, and then all of a sudden, there were babies wearing onesies with the Reaper on it. They were everywhere. You know what I mean? It just, everything changed, and it changed. It felt like overnight. Still talk to pretty much almost everybody on the show all the time. My character was very different, because Juice, starting a few seasons ago, kind of started that distance from everyone. And there were days where I would go in and be filming with, a couple of guest stars, or just with Katie, or, in a few seasons ago, just with Ron. And I was kind of separated from the group. So my transition, I felt, was a lot easier when it kind of all came down. Still extremely sad, but just a little easier being separated.
Now, you sort of were like your character was always wondered week to week whether you would survive. And you had a variety of emotional ups and downs. So talk about that arc and the journey that Juice had, and the fact that he really was going through it, especially during the later seasons.
Yeah. Was the ups and downs in any reference to the push-ups?
No,
it wasn't.
The naked push-ups.
Okay.
We'll get to that later.
I just wanted to make sure we weren't going there just yet. No, I got so lucky. As an actor, the only reason you get into this racket is to experience every single emotion that hopefully a human can, be able to do. And I got to experience that in one character in one series. He started off one way, and it felt like every single season there was a different emotional war that he would have to go through. And I got really lucky like that. So for me, it was just a lot of fun to play. When there's a good, creator, showrunner person doing everything, you just trust in them, so much. So whatever they put out there, you're just ready to do. So I got really lucky with this character, and I really had a specific compassion for Juice.
But what did you worry about job security at all? Was that issue? Because it really did seem like at the end of each hour, is this guy going to be around?
Yeah, you know, things change really fast, especially in the TV world and especially on our show. I mean, there were a lot of surprises for us with characters that would just go and you'd be like, wow. But Kurt is so collaborative with the people on the show that you usually knew before the season. So you were good for like the season. You'd go and then when he was giving you your notes, you'd be like, wow, that sounds pretty terrible. Are you sure that I'm not? And, you know, because it could just change in one line that you'd be gone. But he's really collaborated with it. So I was really, I was okay. Still nerve-wracked most of the time, yeah.
In fact, there was one episode I remember, I forget what it was, when the episode actually ended with you hanging from a tree. And everyone thought that was it for you. And then the next week, you were back.
I was back gasping for air. You know, that was one of those ones where I said, you know, if they change one line or, you know, just don't write that first scene in the next episode, it could be over. So I was on my best behavior all the time.
Best behavior.
Yeah, always.
What do you think it was that the audience, which was just fanatical about this series, what do you think it was about that show that really connected? And especially women. Women love Sons of Anarchy. Wouldn't seem initially like a show that a female audience. Well, the naked push-ups aside.
Here's, you know, I've said this before and I'll say it again. At the end of the day, and it still happens every day, people felt like they knew the characters. They were real people. It wasn't set 50 years ago. It wasn't set in a sci-fi. It wasn't, you know, there wasn't, you know, dragons and all this stuff. It was kind of, these could be people you know in very heightened circumstances. And from what I've gathered over the last, you know, 8 years is that people actually thought we were like real people. They get convinced, which is, you know, really such a kudos to the creator and the way it was done. I think that at the end of the day, it's a family drama. And I think that people related to the struggles in all different ways, because when you peel away all the stunts and all the crazy going on, and everybody can relate to that. And I think that's what made people feel so connected to these guys.
What about you is like Juice, or what about Juice is like you? What was your
his undying loyalty, which he had until his last breath. You know, that I'm with all the time, and I just have that extreme, you know, loyalty to my friends like they have to me. So that was his. At the end of the day, that was his greatest
confrontations with Jax. They really sort of went at it, and then really kind of had emotional moments at the end. What was it like working with Charlie?
You know, I mean, Charlie and I have an extremely similar work ethic where, you know, we're kind of big over preparers, and we kind of come in and do what we have to do. And we also have that same, you know, distance when we're, you know, best friends on set, we're best friends. And when we're, you know, when the characters are best friends, we're best friends. And then when we were kind of separating yourself a little, which is kind of what happened. So I think that, especially at the end with him and I, the reason I believe it all works so well is because of that process.
Well,
I liked it because I believe that whenever you know, again, when you're in this business, you want to completely escape into characters and you want them to be as different as you as possible. I would never get tattoos on my head, but I totally understand why, you know, Juice would get tattoos on his head, because he was always trying to peacock and, you know, trying to make people think he was something that he wasn't. In the original pilot, I actually had hair, probably similar to what's going on right now on top of my head. And they decided when we reshot the pilot, Kurt decided to go with a mohawk and then to put tattoos on the side of his head. And those tattoos are actually the same tattoos that are on Kurt's arms in real life.
Really?
Yeah. And I just thought it was originally lightning bolts, but then it kind of looked like a San Diego Chargers helmet. But I thought it was really, really cool and really different. And, you know, the truth is, for 6 months a year, I had them on all the time because it's just sometimes a pain to take them off. So
what would they use for the tattoos? What were they actually?
This guy, Tinsley, created this amazing thing. They're almost like, if you remember back in the day, color forms, where you put it on and you would, you know, or you would just put it on and wet it, and then you pull it off and, you know, you'd powder it and seal it. And my amazing makeup artist, Michelle, we would do it like an hour and a half every day, all the tattoos on my, body and my head, and they would just seal it, and that was it. And you'd walk around kind of going to wherever you got to go after it, popping into the supermarket and going to restaurants. And if people didn't know the show, they thought you were a lunatic.
Really?
Yeah.
Were they scared of you?
I think you're genuinely always slightly alarmed when someone walks in with huge tattoos on their head and a mohawk.
Right.
Usually.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of certain story arcs, you had to stay in shape.
Yeah.
We saw a lot more of you than
Yeah.
some other Sam Crow members. What was that like? Is that a natural state for you?
Walking around naked.
Yeah.
I tend to walk around naked sometimes. I mean, I was just, I had to close the blinds on the hotel. It's just kind of what happens sometimes. Kurt, I would read a script, and at one point in every single script, my ass would be on camera. So, you gotta run a lot.
So what kind of reaction would you get on the street after a favorable
ass day?
Yeah.
A favorable ass episode?
Yeah. Like good hair day,
bad hair day, good ass day.
Right.
It was very, very responsive. People were genuinely excited by it.
Really?
Yeah. I guess that's a good thing, right?
So
nobody was like, "Hey, please, no more of your ass."
Did you have to eat differently on those days?
I don't think there was eating.
There was no eating.
No, just air consists of eating.
Consuming oxygen. So
kicked him into like being super like crazy about how he was.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Somebody wants to know, what has your life been after Sons of Anarchy, and did it take time to come back to reality after being such a intense character?
I think that it's a great question, because when you do something, it's not like doing a film where you shoot for 5 weeks or, a couple of months. 7 years, 8 years, really when you count the way it all is, 7.5 years. It's a little different. And I think that there are weird times where I just think about the character a lot, because it truly is everywhere. I mean, you really can't go anywhere, and it's a great thing that I always seem to see the Reaper everywhere. It's almost like the Batman signal if we lived in Gotham. I feel like it's everywhere. And when I was, even just jogging yesterday, there was a guy wearing the sweatshirt, and you just kind of jog by him and you kind of snicker a little. I think that for me it was nice. He was ready to go, and the way he went I thought was so peaceful. So I had this nice time to kind of put him away. Yeah.
Kurt Sutter, through so much, the creator of the show, through so much of this, I feel that Sons, the acting, the writing, the directing was just top notch. It was definitely one of TV's most elite dramas, but yet it hasn't really gotten a whole lot of recognition, awards recognition. Some of that might be attributed to Kurt's rather blunt personality, but how do you feel about that, and how do you feel about how that has played out during the Sons run?
I think that has always been something that's been going on with us for a while. I think it's a really interesting question, probably for a lot of other people besides me. I'm a huge fan of television. I watch some really good shows, and I was an enormous fan of Sons of Anarchy, because a lot of times I wouldn't work with a lot of these guys, a lot of these people, and I would just love to see their performances, because they were fantastic. There's an amazing group of character actors, and they were terrific.
Right.
Why? I think that it's something that it's a culture, and it's the motorcycle culture. I think that people just don't know about. Now, you could say people also don't know about a lot of these other things that come. I don't know. Maybe we're too aggressive. Maybe we're too abrasive. I don't know. But at the end of the day, the truth is, the fans say it all, and we have the greatest fans in the world. So, there's nothing that, all that other stuff is really terrific. And I do sometimes wish that Sons got the credit it deserves. And I think if people sat down and watched it, they would understand that.
Talk about that dealing with the fans and just the the reception that you guys would get at Comic-Con or other. I mean, it just seemed to be just so crazy.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
It's the coolest thing in the world, because if you ever need any type of validation that what you're doing, our fans are extremely vocal. They're extremely intelligent. They're not fair weather fans. They usually know every single thing about the show. They're extremely inquisitive about things in the past. They're still watching the series over and over and over. And I really do think that, and I've said it before, that Sons is like lightning in a bottle. It was kind of right before this entire binge watching phase, which you and I talked about, and it was appointment television. You weren't going to record it. You just weren't going to miss it, because you didn't want anybody to ruin it for you. And I think that that's become a rarity. There's only a few shows that can do that now.
Right. One fan wants to know, do you feel Juice was saved in the end from his torment?
It's another good question. What's going on here? Who are these people? I think they're reading into my soul. I think that he let everything go. I think that he knew that there was nothing else that could be done. And I think that he was extremely comfortable. I can only hope in my life. I never want to live the life Juice had, but I hope that I have the peace he had at the end, because I think he had an extreme amount of peace at the end.
Now, after the show, you've had your own projects to working on. Talk about what you've done a film.
Yeah, I did a couple. Yeah, I've been really lucky. We just finished a film for Screen Gems for Sony called When the Bow Breaks. That'll be out next year. And then my own film that my production company set up called Bad Hurt. We just world premiered at Tribeca, which was absolutely incredible. That just finished a couple of days ago. And now we'll go right into this film for Imagine and Universal out here.
So you're producing and doing everything. What is it like being on that other side for you?
It's made me 1,000 times better actor.
Yeah.
It also made me kind of want to smack a few actors around. But you realize that every single minute counts, and that it's really a whole different ball game. You realize that it takes a village to make a film.
Yeah.
And that everybody has to kind of link arms and move forward, especially in the independent film world. And in any TV shows, film, you just got to kind of all be on that same page. Realize that it's not brain surgery. This is we're very lucky to be doing this, and it's a really amazing job. And that if you can make a difference in people's lives with your message through your films or through your work, there's so many other things that come off it, that branch off it, like charity work and all this stuff. So producing has given me an opportunity to tell the stories I want to tell.
Do you have a dream project, a dream idea that you would like to develop?
I do have a few in mind that I'll keep low. We have one that we're working on right now, a television series, that it's something that I've always thought I would love to tell the story of. And I'm hoping that baby loves it too. I'm hoping all over it. And no, I hope that that's one, and we're talking right now at a couple of different meetings, that I hope that that's one I can tell, a New York story.
Someone wants to know, you're a parent. You parent?
I am about to be, yeah.
What is your biggest fear about becoming a parent?
My biggest fear right now, another great question, by the way. My biggest fear right now becoming a parent is that the world is extremely different from when I grew up. Is that I watch people now who are, completely head down. When I'm jogging, I jog, I feel like every day. And most of the time I'm through my headphones, I'm yelling up, head up, because people are, down.
Right.
And they're in, and they're not looking up, and they're not seeing kind of the world. So my biggest fear is, like, if that's what it's like now, my son or daughter, what will it be like in 15 years or 14 years? So I'm hoping that they'll be able to see and live life kind of the way I did as a kid, growing up, riding a bike and playing manhunt and playing Little League and just being able to, like, chase girls around and do whatever, just to have friends that they have forever and be social and be, have that human connection. That would be my biggest fear, that they would miss that.
What do you think is going to be the ultimate legacy of Sons of Anarchy, where it will play out in the annals of TV history?
I think that it's probably one of the most creative shows, risky shows. I think that nobody on the planet thought that a show about a motorcycle club would do that well. I've been everywhere for the show: the Middle East, Australia, Paris, everywhere, Europe, all over Europe, and the show it's still a juggernaut. Some places it's not at its final season. I think that the response to the show will always be that this is a show that, forget just the TV show, the merchandising, the comics, the T-shirts, the sweatshirts, everything that's everywhere. There's just not many things like that. There's really great television shows, but there's not action figures from them, and video games and apps and all this stuff. The fact that this show did all of that is incredible to me.
And another hallmark is that the biker world really accepted this show.
Yeah.
There was obviously a great degree of authenticity in your portrayal and just the whole placement of how this club acted. So that has to be a great thing too.
Oh, it's the one of the two greatest compliments we always get are it's like a lot of motorcycle clubs. It's like their own little soap opera. Like they're very protective of it. They love it. There's things that are obviously suspension of disbelief, and then there's things that they just really relate to. The second one would be I believe at the time, and who knows if we still are, we're the largest TV show for the military. We're extremely big military show. They love the show, and the greatest compliment I ever get is that your show got me through my deployment. And that's to me, it's like, what else do you need to ever hear?
Wow, that's so great.
Yeah.
Have one more. You had to tell Jax that his mother had killed his wife.
Yeah.
Very. I mean, that's your Emmy scene right there. What was the day of filming that like?
Pretty incredible. Here's the funny thing about that scene. I feel like I legitimately get asked about that scene every day, and every single day the answer changes, because it was one of those things that is so bizarre to even think back of, because the truth is Charlie and I just we didn't rehearse, and I think we did it in one or two takes. I think we just covered, both of us, and we just did it. The Manson part, it ended, we shot him out, and then we just did ours. And I've never, in 15 years of doing this, I don't think I've ever done a scene like that, where it just kind of was all there. It was all there. We had been building up to this moment that, for him, he felt so much relief in saying it, and to watch Jax's reaction to it, and for him to keep saying it and then feel this, kind of weight lifted off him. I really was, it's such an honor to play that scene. And I really thought it summed up the entire 7 years of the character.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you taking this time to talk about
so
one of the greatest shows in the last several years, and your portrayal was just top notch.
Thank you.
And good ass or bad ass, it's just really good.
That's right. I'm going to keep it good for a little while. Yeah, I'm going to keep it good.
Thank you for tuning in, and for more about TV chats and TV coverage, tune in to latimes.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you.